If there's one word that perfectly describes Bluey, it's fun, but sometimes the games go too far and the characters end up getting seriously hurt. Do you remember all the times the characters took a nasty hit or suffered a brutal fall?
Don't tell your mum.
Be extra careful when playing at your local park because those places can be dangerous. Bandit already had a serious accident in the show's pilot. This is one of the most violent moments in all of Bluey's universe, so much so that it never made it to the official series. ABC Australia, which aired Bluey before Disney, thought it was way too intense. We're talking about when Mr. Healer, before becoming world famous, almost lost his life. Yep, that's right. When he takes Bluey to the playground, she asks him to push her super high on the swing, but Bandit isn't paying attention. The problem is, Bluey ends up doing a full loop and slamming into Bandit's back. This accident was way more serious than it seemed because the impact was intense. It could have caused some serious injuries. The moment was cut from the original version of the show due to how rough it was, but in the version we know, there are plenty more wild moments that made it in. Today you'll discover 22 of the most violent moments in Bluey. Grab your popcorn and be careful not to burn yourself, because Cinewave is starting now. And what about when Bandit tries to take out Tina, Bluey and Bingo's imaginary friend? When the pups try to make their invisible friend force Bandit to do the dishes, Mr. Healer pretends to obey, only to smack Tina right in the face with a frying pan. That was aggressive. The whole episode is full of violent moments, like when Bandit hits her again with a pillow, knocking Tina down, or when Chili lands multiple blows on poor imaginary Tina. Good thing Tina isn't real, because she really took a beating in this episode. But do imaginary friends feel imaginary pain? Another brutal moment that must have hurt a lot was when Bluey was playing with Bandit in the episode Perfect. He throws her onto the bed, but she misses and crashes onto the floor, hitting her knee. As if that weren't bad enough, Bandit even asks her not to tell Mom about it. That makes Chili furious when she finds out. And honestly, who can blame her? Bandit's body really takes a beating. Imagine sleeping peacefully, only for your two kids to start dreaming that they're walking on the surface of Jupiter and that your body is the planet. Then they start jumping hard and kicking you all over, causing a lot of pain. Sure, it's a cute dream, but poor Bandit. The episode Magic features a fierce battle between Chili and Bluey that would be pretty violent if it weren't all just make-believe. The two pretend they're getting hit by powerful spells, dramatically throwing themselves around and slamming into the floor and walls. The healers really take their game seriously. Throwing yourself to the ground so many times must hurt. Season 1 is packed with violent moments, and the episode Barbecue has some of the most painful ones. 1. Bingo hurts her finger on a spiky plant. And 2. Then she accidentally makes several hard tree barks fall on her head. That must have hurt because she also throws one at Bandit's head, and he groans in pain. Have you ever had a piece of fruit fall on your head? Comment #fruit so we can get to know you better. Do you like pinches and stings? Imagine a doctor who loves giving shots all over your body. When Bandit agrees to play hospital, Bluey takes on the role of a doctor who goes overboard, jabbing imaginary needles all over him. That's a bit violent, Bluey. Who would have thought that one of Bluey's most heartwarming episodes would have had a violent moment? It happens in Rain, when the little blue pup wrestles with Chili to try to get inside the house while covered in mud. Rain is an episode full of love, but if you really pay attention to this scene, when Chili is physically stopping Bluey from getting inside, it's actually pretty intense to watch. The last episode of Season 3 has some pretty intense scenes when Bluey wants to play surprise. The game involves her hiding and throwing a lot of balls at Bandit's body, and that toy looks really strong. How about being thrown down the stairs, with your face hitting the steps several times? That's pretty violent, right? That's exactly what happens to Bandit in the episode Ragdoll when the puppies throw him down the stairs.
I'm surrounded by idiots.
But Bandit isn't the only one suffering in this series. In the episode Yoga Ball, Bingo also becomes a victim of these violent moments. First, Bandit uses the ball to slam the puppy to the ground with a lot of force. Second, he runs over Bingo with the ball. Wow, that one was intense. Then he gives her a strong slap on the stomach, which is really harsh because Bingo is so small and fragile. And what about when Bingo and Chili attack and bite Lucky's dad's shin while the poor guy is hanging clothes? Pat is chilling in the backyard when Bluey uses a magic asparagus to turn her mom and sister into lions. The two hunt and sink their teeth into the neighbor, who gets scared. This is one of the most violent moments in the whole series. In the episode Curry Mission, no one gets hurt, but something pretty violent still happens. A very aggressive bird attacks Bandit and Bingo, but luckily it didn't injure their heads. That was dangerous. In the episode Hairdressers, Bluey and Bingo literally have a session of violent moments with Bandit. The game was to pretend Mr. Healer had lice, and the first heavy thing they do to him is force him to take a cold shower. Then they hit him multiple times using a plush hammer and a fly swatter to smack his butt. That was quite a beating. Afterward, Bluey uses a wooden bird to pinch Bandit's body, and as if that wasn't enough, Bingo suggests hanging him upside down from a tree, throwing flour-filled water balloons at him, and then hitting him with a broom. And you must be thinking, didn't Chili stop them from doing that? No, she let them do it. What won't the need to use the bathroom make you do? In the episode Cubby House, Bandit is surrounded by the huge house the puppies build, but he's so desperate to go to the bathroom that he almost crushes his daughters by knocking the entire cabin down on top of them. This moment is so dangerous that one of them could have gotten trapped under everything. Do you know what you need to do to avoid getting stuck? Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. And in another bad injury for Bandit, this time he could have broken a leg. During a play day with Leela, Bingo and her friend set up a slide in the backyard of the Healer house, but they discover that some insects are getting in the way of the fun. The dangerous scene happens when Bandit tries to slide on the toy, but the puppies move the slide, causing him to fall straight through and injure himself on the bushes. Luckily, he didn't hit a rock or something worse. Falling on your head can be pretty violent, and this happens quite often with Bandit, and in Season 2, it happens in a way that could have been really bad. In the squash game between Bandit and Uncle Stripe, when Bluey's dad is about to lose, to save the ball, he throws himself into the glass door and hits his head hard. This is even more violent when we realize that Bandit hit his head on a glass door that could have shattered, causing a much worse injury. And what about when Bluey bites her own dad to pretend she's going to eat him? We're almost sure this is some kind of crime. During the Carpet Island game, Bluey asks her dad to play with them. The puppies take the kiwi carpet and set it up in the backyard to create what's supposed to be a tropical island with a dangerous tribe. Bandit plays the role of an adult who lost his boat and ended up on the island. The exact moment the puppy spots the visitor, she says that adults aren't welcome there, and to kick him out, the puppy sinks her teeth into him. And as if that weren't enough, Lucky's dad is playing rugby with his son when one of them throws the ball and it lands right between Papa Healer's legs. That's pretty painful. Ever thought about getting hit with a hammer on your finger? That happened to Bandit when he and Chili had to build a bench outside their house. As Chili goes to use the hammer, she ends up striking Bandit's finger with a very strong blow, which is already a pretty violent moment, but it gets worse when the result is Mr. Healer falling off the ladder and hitting his head hard on the ground. This kind of fall can even take your life. Of course, that would never happen in the Bluey universe, but regardless, it was a very violent thing. Ow! During the episode The Creek, Bluey goes on a walk with Mackenzie, Bingo, and Bandit in the woods near the playground. As they're all going down a slide, Bluey complains about the ground being slippery and uneven, until out of nowhere the puppy falls to the ground, slides down the slope, and hurts her knee. And to top it off, Bandit says he's going to have to amputate the puppy's leg. Of course, it's a joke, but it's still a pretty violent thing to say because Bluey believes what Bandit tells her. In the episode Dad Baby, when Bandit pretends to be expecting a baby, which is Bingo, we have some pretty violent moments. First, Chili, who is reading a magazine, needs to show him a little of the discomfort that comes with carrying a baby, so she turns the magazine into a weapon and starts hitting him with it forcefully. Second, Chili says that part of pregnancy is dealing with the kicks the baby gives inside the mom's belly, and of course, Bingo decides to kick her dad's stomach several times. This is just the beginning, because later, Bingo decides to pull on Bandit's belly hair with a lot of force, and anyone knows how painful it is to have your hair pulled out. Now we need to mention a moment where no one gets hurt or anything really dangerous happens, but the chaos is so big that it's definitely a violent moment. In the episode Moms and Dads, Indy argues with Rusty about playing the game of raising a child, and because of that, she ends up choosing one of the terriers to be the new dad of her puppy. The problem is that the puppy chooses to take the stuffed animal to a wooden sword duel, and the worst part, he loses and ends up falling hard onto the table where Indy was working. Here's a tip, don't take your baby to a war, they don't help at all. But if you want to stick around with us, feel free to do so. We've set aside 2 more pieces of content for you to enjoy without getting hurt. See you in another video, and until next time!